Rebekah, you were asking about the goals and the purpose and life and all that. So now we spend a year doing an experiment. So what? If it goes great, awesome. If it goes bad, we spent more time making food and having games.
And having like participating in things we already enjoy doing, and B, like what I love about it is like I really never considered, and this probably speaks more to like maybe I was purposely limiting, or maybe, I don't know if I did it on purpose, but just, I look at small business owners and I'm just in awe of the work that they put into. And it always, to me, seems like such a mountain to climb, such a grind, such a thankless. And like, at the end of the day, I'm like, but they have to love it. Right. But then I can't also put myself in their shoes where like, I would love that too. So maybe I've kind of closed my brain off to that part where I'm just like, well, if you really love it, it must be worth it, but it must be painful too. And that's where it's like, well, if it could be very low risk financially, if not no risk, plus I'm already doing something I love with someone I love, like this is like the ROI is already up here. Like there's no problem. I don't know. It's just kind of unlocked part of my brain I've never accessed.
Welcome to the Childfree Wealth Podcast, hosted by Bri and Dr. J, certified financial planner. Here we discuss life and finances as it relates to being child-free. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your advisor before implementing any ideas heard on this podcast.
So I think when we last left off, you were like planning a trip to West Virginia or something? Like,
oh yeah,
where'd you guys end up?
We just actually returned from that last week. So we, over Memorial Day, we were in West Virginia, just visiting friends. So for about 4 or 5 days, we were there just exploring the town where he lives. He earned his PhD down there a couple years back and never got to visit him, even though it's like 3 hours away. So I was like, why haven't we come down to your neck of the woods? So that was fun. We just got to catch up and hang out in the hills. So.
And this month is Origin, so you got a lot of travel in between the two.
Yes, Those are both things that we were planning for. Yes, for a few months now. We've been looking forward to just some small trips. Yeah, little small adventures. So good stuff.
Nice. So just to check in, this is our 5th meeting of 6. So I want to make sure this meeting and the next one we get your priorities. Anything you want to make sure we talk about over the next 2? I'm just going to like make sure I want to set that.
Yeah, set the stage, the agenda. I appreciate that. It's funny you say that because I was kind of thinking the same thing. Like, okay, what have we already covered? What should we be like focusing on as we kind of wind down? And, for me, I think that for both of us, I think we discussed like the looming thing. And I think the challenge that I did get into your book that you had sent me the preview of, or the draft of. And I think our challenge is understanding, because being child-free, we don't have that like playbook, as it were, of what you should be focusing on at this age, during your kids, infancy up to, whatever. We don't have that playbook. So we're just like, well, all of these competing goals are here with us. Our career goals are, getting out of debt, saving for retirement, all these things we know we should be doing or could be doing, as well as just the things that are important to us. It's like, where do you define the priority and the thing that really makes your life meaningful and good and exceptional? I think, as you put it, exceptional is what we're really just trying to achieve here. So I think that still remains a little bit of a question for me, for us, is like, where do we focus our energies, and how do we really do the soul searching that we need to do to make those changes happen? So that's a little broad, I know, in terms of how to dig into that, but it's kind of where my head's at.
That's the stuff we call life planning. We can definitely go there. I've got a couple homework things before that. And then the other one that I have on my list that I want to make sure we get to is like, you were supposed to be collecting a list of what ifs or things that work. Have you had any luck on that list?
I think we kind of started in on it last time, but if I recall, we kind of got not derailed. It was a very good discussion about, I think we went into estate planning and some of that kind of stuff, where a lot of my, I guess, big worries and questions come with those inevitabilities of health failures and either not being able to work, not being able to take care of ourselves, physically. Those are probably where like my biggest what ifs are centered around, and that can go a lot of different directions. I think understanding how to navigate healthcare / insurance is probably the balm for a lot of the worries, but that's going to be a point of ignorance for me. I just haven't I haven't needed to, thank goodness, do that kind of research or I guess in-depth understanding of what the playbooks are when you find yourself in those situations.
And really, it's not something I can prepare you for because it depends on what's going on.
Sure.
So it's like, when it happens, call me.
And sometimes that is the plan. It's just you call in reinforcements when you've got a bad deal, and that's perfectly acceptable. It's just, I think a lot of the things that loom large in the back of my head are those just unknowns or the inevitabilities that are, you see either peers go through or people who are getting older and maybe don't have the supportive family or children, where it's like, okay, well, is that my future? Like, how do I prepare for that? And yeah.
That's fair. All right. So let me check on the homework, then I'll come back to the bigger picture life stuff. And then we're going to put part of your homework to come back to the what ifs. Is Matt still running the budget meetings? How's that going?
Yeah. He's been really keeping it going. I think we've had it hasn't always been every Friday like we originally envisioned, but that's okay. We've had those touch points, and especially because some of the items we were, I think, looking to talk through and prepare for were those like travel things that we were like, well, we're going to need to get Airbnbs, which are always more and more expensive. We're going to need to get pet sitting, which is more and more expensive. So figuring out how to carve out some extra, I guess, savings or just money put away for those things that we didn't really have a set aside budget for, where you're like, I think that's been the ongoing conversations that we've had have been helpful in that way. So we're going into it with something of a game plan, if not, not too stringent, but certainly not with complete ignorance either. So.
All right. So are we going to keep with Matt doing the budget, or what are we going to do long term?
It's a good question. I don't know.
I think I can keep doing them for sure.
Yeah, I think
they might eventually evolve into just a weekly conversation about it.
Yeah.
In all honesty,
I think that's where it's headed. Where it's just we're taking away, I guess, some of the I don't want to say structure because it's still an intentional conversation, but it's just more of a let's figure out our high level goals, where we are, what things are we
coming up.
What are we walking into that we might not be prepared for, and even like things like family birthdays, where like his family's birthdays are kind of concentrated in the fall and mine's are more concentrated like in the springtime and some early summer. So it's just like, setting aside money for gifts, where I've got 2 nieces now, kind of new additions, and he's got his nephews, where it's just like, well, we do want to be, continue to participate in all the family functions and stuff. So all of that is just, kind of hidden expenses that you're just like, oh, that's happening again. It's like, let's plan for that every year now. Yeah. So I think those conversations have been helpful for that reason. And the structure thing is, I am happy to put that down, where it's like, it doesn't need to be let's draw this meeting to order kind of situation.
No, I mean, this is that question we were asking of like, did you have to get the star and everything? What was it? The martial arts class, a few other things like,
Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't shy away from the fact that I do like a plan. Like I've said that, where I just, me and ordered steps go hand in hand very well together. So that's where it's like learning how to like take your hands off the death grip on the wheel and just go, okay, let's just let this thing happen. It's going to be a lot more enjoyable for everyone involved. I think I can recognize the value in that. So for sure.
So the other one that was on the homework was to look at and continue the conversation around your will, power of attorney, estate planning. Did you guys have any chance, or are we just like all been in West Virginia?
So it's a good question. I had one conversation with my mother and sister about it, just from the high level of just like, have you guys talked about this with your husbands? And like, I mentioned that, we kind of had somebody in mind for our stuff, just from the perspective of, a sibling of mine is a healthcare advocate. That's what she does every single day of the week. So it's like, she would be very well equipped if she were willing to take that step. So we've not put down any material steps, but it hasn't left our minds completely either.
So I'm going to put that back on the homework list, because we got to get that done. Because one of the problems is like, we started the conversation like, we didn't get any documentation done, didn't get any signatures. Like, That's a fun conversation. We didn't get anything done.
Yeah, we didn't get any. Well, and like the material steps that need to be taken apart from the conversations with the people you want to have as the designated participants in that plan. Getting the lawyer, getting the paperwork, like all of that is a little bit of an unknown to me as far as material steps to take, but certainly not something that can't be researched and executed on.
Well, and your stuff is simple enough. So we recommend a company called Trust and Will. We make nothing on it. It's kind of fill in the blank will. So it's kind of like legal Zoom, except for wills. It's legal documents at your own discretion. Essentially, you need the answers for the questions, and then they'll tell you where to put them in the blocks. It's kind of like Mad Libs for wills.
I gotcha.
We'll send you a link for that.
Yeah, please do.
In the future, we might want to do something a little more fancy, but like, got to get something down at least.
That's totally fair. Yeah. Certainly makes sense, especially the dog, like planning for who would take the dogs or who would at least facilitate their next steps is definitely something that's top of mind, because they're dependent for sure. So.
All right, so let's switch to the bigger stuff. Let's switch to the life planning, the goals, all that. Matt, did you get to read anything, or just Rebekah reading it all? So I want to know where I have to start.
Becca's been reading and telling.
I have been. We've been discussing, but yeah. I didn't even forward it to you, to be fair. I should have done so. The expectation being, yes, I would kind of, and I liked how you put it in one part, just, I won't get into. You
can get into it. I sent you got a review copy so you can give feedback and share,
okay. Beautiful. I just, the aspect of just like using it as I'm not going to know this word for word, but it was the part where it's just like, look at the table of contents and find out, okay, which of those things are relevant to me right now? Or what am I curious about? And I think that really helped me just go, okay, because sometimes everybody's time is limited. I'm not unique in that way, but I'm just like, okay, how am I going to carve out time to consume a lot of other content is a tough one for me, which says a lot about how I time manage. But there was an aspect of just like, let's just go through and like pick out some of the nuggets that you can really glean from right now. And that helps me just, break in. And then it was really like easy to just like keep going with it. So yeah, we've had few little discussions, but.
Yeah, we call it choose your own adventure. So that's like when we were kids doing the choose your own adventure books. What jumped out at you? Kind of like, what did you have conversations about? What kind of like hit or didn't?
I think again, the thing that I kind of mentioned earlier was where I was like, have we really internalized the challenge of where do we want our time to be spent, our energy to be spent? The whole like financial independence, retire early versus live early, fire versus file, where it's like, it's just kind of started even checking in on myself, where it's like, is my work-life balance what I want it to be? I just mentioned time management being a difficult thing for me between my social life, my family life, my professional life. I really feel I'm heading towards a burnout point that I recognize in myself, where I'm like, I can almost barely find time and energy to carve out time to have the conversation with my husband about this stuff, let alone actually take time to introspect on what would you want to do with your life if you could do anything. I think one thing this is kind of anecdotal, but like there's this shop in the town that that we live in that is unfortunately closing its doors after like 48 years of the business. And we walk past it and are sad every time. But I always think like, what if we had that space? You always talk about wanting to do comics or hobby shop stuff. And we always just kind of treat it as like if we won the lottery kind of thing, right? I'm not the one to jump out. We live in a very small town. So like a foolish financial decision would be just like, let's just go throw our dream shop out there and like, let's just get a rental agreement with this space and start like throwing our ideas out there. But I also was like, but the fact that we just laugh it off and treat it as like a pie in the sky dream is also probably not great, because we could take material steps to do something like that if we really planned it out and thought about it, where like maybe the burnout inevitability is not a foregone conclusion. That to me was the thing that I keep gleaning from the book, is just, you've got to be the one to do the introspection, figure it out. No one can do it for you. It's a joint effort, but it's an individual effort to find out what it is you want.
I'm going to ask you, Matt. So if money didn't matter, what would you do?
Oh, like she was saying, we did have a really good, or she had a good idea about what my hobby shop could be of my two biggest likes, which is Dungeons and Dragons and donuts, and it'd be Dungeons and Donuts. And donut shop, hobby shop.
Yeah, so I do like to bake, and I will routinely do donuts every once in a blue moon. And I was like, a friend of mine also kind of opened up a little pop-up donut shop in a neighboring town, which I've been just loving the content she puts out, some cute videos and stuff. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that would be so much fun. So yeah, that was when we were on one of our walks past that shop. I was like, this is the place where we do Dungeons and Donuts. Again, jokes, but it's maybe someday.
So what if we could make that happen? What if 5 years from now you open Dungeons and Donuts? Would that make you happy?
I have no idea. I have no.
Well, I think if it implies that we have found a better balance with what we really want to be doing and what we have to do to maintain our lifestyle, meaning we haven't taken any major hits to our financial security. I'm not saying that we don't have to restructure or reprioritize, but at the end of the day, that we haven't putting ourselves in a precarious position to have achieved it, I think we would both be very happy with that.
Probably have more anxiety about it, but
You feel like you would?
oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. Because you're like worried about the failure?
Oh yes.
Okay. See, that's a good thing to know.
So Matt, is it worth it? That's the question.
I mean, if it's a huge financial upset, probably not. But I mean, I have always liked the idea of, introducing people to new board games and new hobbies. And
yeah,
I have a really stupid encyclopedic knowledge of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, and that's not helping anybody at this moment.
Yeah, but I mean, how many people that we know or are acquainted with have come up to you asking to DM a one shot to show you, like that.
Get into it. Yeah.
Bringing people into a new interest is something that you light up doing it. So it's got to make you happy. So finding a way to do that. I mean, again, neighboring town, there's something similar. And I think that they're kind of becoming more of a
hobby shops.
Hobby shops are popping up in little towns everywhere where people who don't maybe have the space to host a game night or whatever are a thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's certainly not a crazy idea that it would be, and it doesn't have to be a high dollar earning situation,
I don't think it would be.
Well, right. It wouldn't be, but.
Well, yes and no. So let's play with this for a second. So part of this is we limit ourselves way too much. And you're right on that, Rebekah. Yeah, like we don't want to think. I'm going to play with Matt for a minute here.
Okay.
Matt, if your day in, day out was DMing and gaming and getting people into it, would that make your life happy?
It would definitely make it more interesting, but I think so.
There are people that charge on Roll20 and charge per game, and you can start doing that today.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I've seen those thought about doing it a couple times.
But
it takes a lot of planning to do those sort of things, and even in one shots like this West Virginia, I planned a little one shot there, and it was just all in my head, and I brought a couple of my miniatures, a couple of my maps, and
I think you definitely light up when you do it. I think that again the give and take has got to be there though. To expect you to have the energy and the capacity to be even willing to work with new players takes a lot of energy. So there's the aspect of if I just came off 8.5 hour shift and I had to mow the lawn and now I've got to, it's not going to be the same experience as if you had a balance to it. So there's that piece of it too, where it's hard to measure your projected enjoyment of it in our current situation when it's those are the things that you enjoy doing in your downtime, but doing it more than the infrequent times that you do it is a hard thing to imagine, I'm sure.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. It's a real time versus money situation there.
True.
How much time am I putting into it and how much money am I getting out?
Well, the part of this though, if you're going to look at time and money, you should never start your own business. I'm just telling you that.
That's so true.
We call it the McDonald's test. When you take how much you're making per hour, can you make more money at McDonald's than running your business? And a lot of times the answer is yes. And you should just work at McDonald's. But it's the question of quality of life and what matters and, what you're doing in this season of life. Matt, let me give you an example. So my nephew wanted to do a D&D birthday, essentially. She hires a DM who comes in, I think it was 4 kids, 9 or 10 type age.
Okay.
DM comes in, miniatures, the maps, the whole works. It's $400 for the day. It was a 4-hour party, but we'll call it a day. And that was their job. Now, my mother was like, "That's a lot of money," and I'm like, "No, for a kid's birthday party, $400 is like nothing."
That's probably pretty good considering it's entertainment for hours. That's pretty good. You get a magic show for 15 minutes for that much. Like,
well, and that's my point. But my nephew was like, "This is the best birthday ever."
Awesome.
And it was 4 hours of professional DM, all the fun with it. Would you be interested in something like that?
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's been in the back of my mind for sure.
Can you imagine?
I know.
Essentially, have done that. You've essentially done that for free for, well, again, they're family, but like you've done that for your nephews, you've done that for Greg in West Virginia, you've done that for plenty of other people, or it's something you enjoy in the moment. Now, maybe it's because you know and love the people, but I think it's also because you know and love the game and you like to introduce people to it. So I think something to explore. Oh, yeah, just from the aspect of just like we talked about, your time versus money, where it's like if you were to find something part-time or do something different that you could have more energy to plan or energy to develop character stories, market, whatever, and you weren't working 40-hour weeks, there could be some, get more bandwidth back to be able to do that. And sure, maybe you won't make as much as you make now, but okay, like if you're happier, right? I mean, that's kind of the whole premise here, I think. So,
what are you thinking, Matt?
Yeah, I guess if we were probably more debt free, it would be something that could be explored. We definitely we live off what we make, and if we make less, we might be living less.
But is it worth it? Is the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you would dramatically enjoy your life more, I feel like it is absolutely worth the conversation. And it's just, we can as I mentioned, none of this is assuming we don't restructure some things and, either prioritize different ways that we spend our money. It would absolutely be something we should talk about.
All right.
Matt, Rebekah just said, follow your dreams. And you're like, all right, like, okay, I guess I can.
I don't, maybe he doesn't believe that what I'm saying is what I believe, but I mean, life is too short and I don't think I think a big piece of it is you're not miserable in your job.
No.
You don't go to work hating your life by any stretch. And I think you're probably, I don't want to speak for you, but weighing in your mind, like the ways in which we enjoy ourselves, our jobs make that a reality. I don't know if you're feeling like, well, if I didn't do that, then we would have to, couldn't go to Origins, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. It's, those are things we would have to explore, but I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. And so
I'm trying to do and, not or. So
I see. I appreciate
so
that.
watch this. Let's play this out. Let's say that you two start, I going back for if I like Donuts and Dragons or Dungeons and Donuts, but okay, like,
oh yeah, either way.
like kind of, play with it.
I guess Dungeons and Donuts is a little gloomy. It might have a different connotation for some people.
Oh, geez.
Well, it's a question: do you eat the donuts first or second? So that's why I came with Donuts and Dragons.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Okay,
I like that.
The sweet scent of
Keep
donuts
the dungeons
brings
out
you
of
in.
it. Yeah. I love that.
Okay, so let's say we do Donuts and Dragons. By the way, you don't really have to follow that name. I'm just having fun with it. And what if you said, okay, this year we're going to do 20 weekend parties of Donuts and Dragons, and you hung out a shingle. You don't need a business. You don't need a storefront and all that. You literally say, hey, I will show up with Donuts and Dragons for a party for $500.
Damn.
And it could be Saturday or Sunday. Like, you're not working Saturday or Sunday anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
And by the way, if it's bringing $500, we can then take that money and put it aside to actually, do the retail store and all that. But it's a proof of concept where Rebekah can make the donuts, you bring the dragons, and it becomes a hobby on the weekends, but it's a business. But it's something you could start, and the overhead of it is nothing. Let's be real on that. Like,
right. It's the paper to print your player sheets and some sugar and flour and oil. That's
right.
fair. That's beautiful.
what do you think about that, Matt?
I think it's a cool idea. I mean, yeah, there's some logistics to it. Like, I guess whoever's hiring me, just kind of tailor it to whatever they want to see, or if they want nothing, I'll just figure something else out. But
I think, are you worried they won't be satisfied with the product?
I can't worry about that.
It is hard to understand. Well, one thing we can speak to with people's perceptions of Dungeons and Dragons is often taken from the popular television program Stranger Things. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on this podcast,
No, that's
but
fine.
it's one of those things where, they get a certain idea of how it's going to go, where it's like, okay, well, it's going to be a little bit more, so tailoring it to a newbie setting, especially child newbie, would be, I think, something that you could easily take on, while not losing the essence of the game. But certainly, we wouldn't throw them into a in-depth campaign that we might enjoy as much as something basic.
My nephews still talk about the one that I did for them.
Absolutely.
Yep. And by the way, interestingly enough, some libraries have been paying DMs to come do games there.
Oh,
because
wow.
These are
well,
things
it's a
I
perfect
did not
place.
even know.
Oh no, I know
sure.
a lot of this world. But let's kind of expand this. So we got Donuts and Dragons, and we have 3 packages. One is kind of like a kids party, one is an ongoing campaign, and one is an adult party. All 3 of those would work. And then we can give them 4, 6, 8-hour packages, whatever they want, depending on. Let's be real. Donuts and Dragons works for adults too. I mean, come on. Like,
Absolutely.
if they can have some adult beverages
100%.
go with it, not provided to you by you, because that's a legalese. But
a whole different
literally,
thing, yeah. Yeah,
Saturday
100%.
night, professional DM comes by with donuts and runs a game.
Yeah, the only issue is getting those people together in one place.
Well, that's their problem.
That's their problem, exactly.
That's true.
They picked
Actually,
the
that's
date.
the hardest part.
That is the hardest part.
Yep. They picked the date. You're being paid to come, so
Yeah.
Somebody's going to steal this idea. That's
don't worry.
It's
It's got a month before it airs, so we can get the domain name all set up and
beautiful.
I'll link to it in the show notes if you get it done. But
so good. Oh my god.
But seriously, Rebekah now runs the business and the marketing side and the donuts. She's marketing Matt to go out and do this. Because here's the thing. Let's say we try this for 6 or 12 months. And worst case, you do like 5 events and it doesn't pick up. You lost $100 for the website and the domain and some dough.
Yeah, no, there's no risk. No, I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it's something that we will talk about more.
I think so.
And then best case, it takes off. Now, you take that money you're making from Donuts and Dragons, you put it aside. That is now, and by the way, don't put that towards your debt or anything. That goes to the business, and we can come back to business structure, all that. But we put that there. A year from now, we can go, this has got legs, or we go, yeah, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
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 But what we can do is learn from it. So a lot of times with business, people try to business plan and latest all, you forget it. Just start the thing. Just seriously go on Facebook and say we're doing Donuts and Dragons and we host events.
I love that. I think you have the ambition there. They're not unreasonable, the feeling of barriers, right? Sometimes when I'll just use again the example, walk past the shop and we go, oh, can you imagine a hobby shop here where we serve? And we've done all different iterations of it. Maybe it's a coffee shop. Maybe it's like a bar. Maybe it's we've had so many even in our area.
Music venue.
Yeah. There's so many things we'll just throw out there and be like, wouldn't it be cool if our town had one of these? And it's just all that to say, in reality though, you can take baby steps you don't need like you said, you don't need a storefront. You don't need to go into debt over this. You can take some steps and figure out if this is something that's going to have legs, as you put it, and make way for a different lifestyle, different outcome, a different way to spend your time.
Could be low risk, high reward.
Could be, yeah. And especially if you just enjoy doing it, what's the problem?
And I'm getting the feeling you two would enjoy doing this together.
Oh yeah. You're very much into video games. I am less so. I like a few specific video games, but D&D has been one thing that we both are just all in about.
Yeah.
You have more, like you said, the encyclopedia knowledge of the game and the rules and everything that goes into it. I benefit from that very much, where I don't need to know everything to help me, but we enjoy it very much together. So, and you always enjoy when I make donuts. So
Very true.
So let's play this out. Okay, so we're having success. We're doing 4-hour events, maybe 5, 6 hour, I don't know, whatever, half day events. sounds like you both would go to the event. Matt would run it and Rebekah would like keep an eye on things and, kind of like keep things moving and donuts.
Yeah, facilitate even. I can, be a question answer person while you work on not letting other players have a lapse in their experience while maybe somebody has a question about what dice do I roll, what spell do I cast, stuff like that. I can be a facilitator in that way.
So let me ask you a question. This is going to sound a little weird, but go with me. Would you enjoy that more than how you spent last Saturday? Or maybe 2 Saturdays ago since you were traveling? Whenever the last Saturday at home?
I don't know.
I think
do
well, you love your home time, so that's a fair statement.
Especially when we've been doing a lot on weekends,
right?
And just having like.
But hun, didn't we just say how we need to get better at defining some boundaries in our social life? One way to do that, I gotta work. I got a party I'm DMing, and then you get the whole day. We tend to get overbooked socially. Not to make that sound like a humble brag, like we're so popular. It's more of a just, we don't know how to say no to people.
So if you said, hey, first of all, blame me. My financial planner says I have to do one a weekend, just kind of how it works, just... stream. So we're charging $500 a day for these events because we got donuts and all that. Matt, if you did two a weekend, you could quit your day job.
Oh, easily. Yeah. Like if I did,
you could have 5 days at home, 2 weekends.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go to the birthday party.
I mean,
you have to go to other people's birthday parties.
Yeah, but it's different when you're running the DM.
Yes, absolutely. When you're getting paid.
Yeah.
And by the way, that could be within a year pretty easily. And then maybe you offer some like Tuesday night events for the adults or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love it.
How's that feel, Matt?
Definitely an idea.
I don't hate it. He doesn't hate it.
I will be thinking about this.
By the way, my challenge is going to be to just do it. Like, I want you to do like 3 of them. And then like you do 3 of them and you're like, oh, that sucked. Or you could be like, oh, the second one was good. The first one was bad. The third one, we missed it. Let's do more of the second one. You might find you only like doing the adult parties or the kid, like whatever it is.
Absolutely. I'm here for it.
Now, Rebekah, question for you. So you had mentioned you and your burnout and all that fun stuff. Would this help you on the burnout if you knew, hey, you were supporting this effort for Matt?
Well, that's a good question because, I would need to, and I'm endeavoring to really inspect what's the root cause because I've worked the same job for 6 years and I've not always felt this way. I don't know if it's just the ebb and flow of how things are going at work or things are just kind of piling up in different areas of my life where it's just like, okay, what's the real change here that's really kind of driving me to feel this way? And if short of identifying that, having an outlet where I had like, I'll use a different example of it was never meant to make money, but it was more meant to like meet the community we had just moved into in 2020. I was doing the farmer's market. I was baking for that. And I would take my bread and cookies and donuts and whatever I was making at the time and bring once a week on Saturday for a few hours, would bring my stuff out there. And again, like not to make a lot of money. I didn't make much. I mean, I'm sure it was a little bit of scratch, but not much. But it was more of a let's meet the community and my neighbors and stuff. Is very small, quaint kind of farmer's market. That was one of the happiest times of my life. Like if I can look back on that, where I had the work-life balance down where I could carve out time on Friday afternoon, evening to do all my prep, up early to do the bake, Saturday morning, 8 to noon, doing the market, and then having the weekend to just relax was like awesome. So if I were doing that in support of something that we could both do or enjoy, and I think that would be revisiting that feeling for me, for sure.
And where I'm literally going is this is a way to sell your product, essentially. You give them a menu. You get these, this is your choices. Mm-hmm. This is the event, and this is the cookies, donuts, whatever to come with it.
Can do themes, and it'd be fun. Yeah. I would really probably unlock some pretty cool creative things that I haven't tapped into at all with my stuff, where it's just like I'll try some new recipes and find stuff that I could produce quickly and with high quality. And then I just stick to those forever. But, given the opportunity, even for like my niece's birthdays, I'll do some cakes, like I did a dragon cake. It was like a kid dragon, like a How to Train Your Dragon type dragon, not like a scary one, but it was more of a, when I get the outlet to do something creative, I have so much fun with it, but those are very few and far between, just from when I'm creative and also have the bandwidth and the capacity don't always meet up. So
if we're looking at it saying, hey, so this, by the way, this is the chapter on the gardener and the rose, taking turns, who's growing, who's providing support. The easy answer here is Matt gets the business going, and then you can slide into it out of your job.
Yeah. Be there as support. I'll be the bard.
Well, I don't know if I want to go that far, but I love playing bards, but
you don't want to hear my violin skills. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. But so where I'm going with this is it's gone from like this pipe dream of, hey, we're going to open a store, to you could be doing this next weekend.
It's kind of exciting, actually.
By the way, Rebekah, what's also going to happen on that is it'll limit the amount of work time you're putting in, because like, I got to get home and get this done.
Right. Yeah. It's a boundary that because you don't have kids, you don't feel like you can set often, right? Where it's like, well, so-and-so's got to leave. They got to pick their kids up. So-and-so's got to track meet. That's all. And I no problem with that, but it's more of a, you stay on and maybe take care of a few things that need to get tied up. And yeah, it's like, I can have my thing.
Yeah. The Society for Human Resource Management looked at, and child-free folks are expected to cover vacations and extra hours. And you're like, look, if I had Johnny's soccer game, I'd be out at 5. So guess what? From now on, I'm out because I have other things I have to work on.
Absolutely. Just start telling people I have a kid, and his name is Cora and Dova.
Well, actually, though, what happens is if you say, hey, we're working on this, Rebekah, the cheat is I'm helping Matt with his business. Everybody's going to go, oh, kind of, I get that. We're the startup. And then they'll ask, well, what is the business? And then you're like, so just FYI, we run these
I love it.
But you can see how that would happen.
Teaser. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's a good conversation starter.
And everybody kind of like, I hate to say it, but we kind of have to have an excuse for a lot of things. Be like, look, my husband, my wife has this project. I got to go help them. I got to go get dinner ready so they can go do this job. Everybody's like, all right, I've been there. Like,
we've all been there. We know I'm the first to just, please, I'll even corral people out the door. Go take care of your family. Because I do feel that way. It's just, if you've got somebody who needs your time, please go do that. I would hate to be the person who's like, no, you stay and work harder and leave your kids in the lurch. I think it does come back to, we also deserve to have some of that boundary setting and going, all right, I can have my things, and people can respect that just as well. So hopefully.
Now, the one caution is, can you two work together without killing each other?
Well, we've worked together in the sense we've tackled projects, like home projects, you mean, I'm assuming? Yeah. I think so.
I'll note that when we do work together, we do much better.
You think we do better? You think we're by our powers combined?
Very good team.
Yeah, I think we are too. I think we haven't really tested the whole like creative control aspect, which I think I would defer to you for that from the perspective of the core of the game and what you're offering. Mine would be more augmenting that with, again, support. Because like I'm going to use just our friend groups, for example. I often provide like a brunch or a menu for people coming over, and you do the game, and it's a good balance, and we have a great time. So it's not like we haven't tested out the product. It would be more of a, and I don't think it would ever go here, but just like the conflict that anybody should talk about going into business with a partner or a family member is just and this would not be the thing to worry about, but it'd be if you're looking to like spend crazy money on some kind of a thing. And again, this wouldn't be a good example of that, but if there was even just like, let's go rent the storefront now with a cold market and like a town size of like 1,000 people over 20 miles, maybe we don't do that. Like, maybe we don't take steps that are not reasonable, but I don't think that either of us would be bullheaded in that way. So I don't see it being a problem.
So, Rebekah, let me kind of refine this idea here. So, you're obviously doing more than baking. So, you're willing to do meals and all that. Is that fair?
I mean, again, catering a meal, I will say, is logistically a different task, but I wouldn't be opposed. And again, it would have to be on the basis of this is what I prepared to deliver, not just an open season type thing. Enjoy providing meals and have done a lot of that in my life and enjoyed it.
So let's play this out. So now we've got another opportunity. You offer on Thursday nights and Friday nights adult hors d'oeuvres and D&D. It's a 4-hour event. Bring your own booze. We'll come to your place with a pile of random. Everybody loves the random, just finger food, random something. That's all done. It's a party at your house, but we do all the work.
Yeah, get like tavern themed foods.
Well, that's what I.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of
I
course. I mean, come on. We're serving dragon wings. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, there's so much there. Whole Pinterest board on stuff like that. Yes.
We'll bring mead. In fact, we'll start making
Well,
mead. And now we're
not bringing the mead. They can bring.
Yeah, the alcohol let somebody else deal with. But but what ends up happening is you two can now be kind of throwing parties for fun. You run it for 6 or 12 months and you're like, oh, we hate each other after this. Oh, we're not doing it anymore.
Right.
Or we run it for 6 or 12 months like, we're having a lot of fun. We're enjoying this. We're getting closer together. I think it's working. We can expand it. Now, here's the thing. From a financial standpoint, I took all the risk away. Because really, you just look at each event and it has to be profitable.
Yeah. Don't do more than
the food
this.
is probably the hardest part. But as long as you get the math right, the rest they're paying for your time. It's not like, Matt, I'm willing to bet if I turned the camera over, I'd see how many miniatures and books and stuff you have. You don't have to buy anything.
You wouldn't have to.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't have to pan far.
I know you already have all that.
Yeah.
Worst case, a fig gets lost and you got to replace it for $5.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And there's no way they'd be high level enough to fight any of those big boys. So. Well, that's the other thing. No, you could say, do you want to be you want to start at level 5, so you got a little more to work with. You want to start at level 3.
Or do they want to do ongoing? So we go once first Friday of every month. By the way, that's more the adult side probably, but first Friday of every month, we're coming with snacks and D&D for 4 or 6 hours, whatever it is. That's something people will pay for.
Literally. And you could, if it is the adult themed one, where if you the sweet spots list, I'm just going to say is 3-4 people, but if you wanted to bring it up to 6 or whatever, you'd want a longer time, but people could chip in for that so that it wouldn't be such a ridiculous. Yeah. I like this. This could be cool. Yeah. We honestly, there have been times when we would have liked something like it. And I'm not even going to say we wouldn't even today use something where it's maybe not every month, but he likes to be a player, but he's often just the DM. And we only know one other person who DMs at all. And it's he's great and it's fine, but that's all you get. And it's okay, well, you'd like to get some new blood in there. So,
and what ends up happening is now you're in a community that's small. But you know what? Within an hour drive, there's a whole lot of other people.
Yeah.
Akron's 20 minutes. Cleveland's 40 minutes. Worcester, Medina, they're all very close. So, yeah. Absolutely.
It's not that hard.
No.
Matt, what do you think? Rebekah seems pretty excited about this. You're quiet. She's more excited for you than I think you are, but let's see.
I'm thinking of names.
Oh, he's over here.
Yeah.
Entering
if we're gonna pan or go past just donuts, we're gonna have to think of a different name.
No, you can still call it Donuts and Dragons because it's fun, but offer a bigger menu.
Yeah,
it's got the alliteration.
The hors d'oeuvres can be a little side offering. Yeah,
but I'm also gonna need a sweet A-team van. With a awesome mural on the side.
Now we're going places with the spending. Maybe if it's good, if we do 12 months of good work, maybe we get a van.
So Rebekah, you were asking about the goals and the purpose and life and all that. So now we spend a year doing an experiment. Let's call it that. So what? If it goes great, awesome. If it goes bad, we spent more time making food and having games.
And having like participating in things we already enjoy doing, and B, like if what I love about it is like I really never considered, and this probably speaks more to like maybe I was purposely limiting, or I don't know if I did it on purpose, but just I look at small business owners and I'm just in awe of the work that they put into, and it always to me seems like such a mountain to climb, such a grind, such a thankless, and like at the end of the day, I'm like, but they have to love it, right? But then I can't also put myself in their shoes where like I would love that too. So I just maybe I've kind of closed my brain off to that part where I'm just like, well, if you really love it, it must be worth it, but it must be painful too. And that's where it's like, well, if it could be very low risk financially, if not no risk, plus I'm already doing something I love with someone I love, like this is like the ROI is already up here. Like there's no problem. So I don't know. It's just kind of unlocked part of my brain I've never accessed.
So the actual concept I'm bringing through is called a lean startup. You create a minimum viable product, you launch it and go. And that's the only way you do small businesses nowadays. So if I look at my company right now, the product I started with versus what I serve now are two different worlds. I originally planned on running a company that had 50 clients, no more, just me. And now we got a team of 8. Like I didn't have that in the plan, but that's where it goes. So like people are like worried about, well, what's the end? So I'm going to kind of pull apart my business. So our long-term crazy goal is we want to serve 1% of the child-free millionaires in the United States. That's 44,000 people. That's insane. I can't even think about that. Like, it's not even like a realistic thing. What I can do is serve each client individually well, make sure my team is set up, and then plan for the best. This type of setup, once you've done like 4 or 5 of these, there's no financial risk anymore because you got a little cash cushion, Worst case, like your tire blows out on the way to the place. That is. And you can do that, and people though, they're like, watch like Shark Tank and like, I've got to do, and I'm like, no, this is not Shark Tank. Okay.
You got to come up with just some like maverick product or pitch or unique thing where it's like, people sit around a room and go, oh, like we just need to sell, find something we can sell for $1 and get $1 from everybody and we got it, and it's just like, okay, well, like good luck on that. I'm going to go back to my normal job and not waste my energy. But ultimately not to diminish those people who are trying to do that, but it's more of a, you can work with what with what you enjoy and find out where the niche is for that and go, I hate to use the word exploit it, but go pursue it. Go pursue the thing you love. And if it pays you, great. It's been worth it. But
yep. The caution is you're turning your hobby into a job, which is the easiest way to make your hobby something you hate. I'm just calling.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing though, is you have control, right? You can go, I don't want to book a party for all of summer and you got the summer off, So yeah, I love that.
So Rebekah, you were asking about the goals and the purpose and life and all that. So now we spend a year doing an experiment. So what? If it goes great, awesome. If it goes bad, we spent more time making food and having games.
And having like participating in things we already enjoy doing, and B, like if what I love about it is like I really never considered, and this probably speaks more to like maybe I was purposely limiting, or I don't know if I did it on purpose, but just I look at small business owners and I'm just in awe of the work that they put into, and it always to me seems like such a mountain to climb, such a grind, such a thankless, and like at the end of the day, I'm like, but they have to love it, right? But then I can't also put myself in their shoes where like I would love that too. So I just maybe I've kind of closed my brain off to that part where I'm just like, well, if you really love it, it must be worth it, but it must be painful too. And that's where it's like, well, if it could be very low risk financially, if not no risk, plus I'm already doing something I love with someone I love, like this is like the ROI is already up here. Like there's no problem. So I don't know. It's just kind of unlocked part of my brain I've never accessed.
Yeah. And the other part of this is it actually puts together what you both do anyway. Like you both have unique skills. Let's do it. By the way, I'm now thinking for the kids' parties, you got to do it in costume, but that's a separate,
I was just thinking that too.
I'll have to get a wizard.
You absolutely would be great with a wizard.
But that's the type of thing you'd love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That would be fantastic.
All right, Matt. So here's the time to make a deal. My goal would be for you to do 3 of these in the next 3 months minimum.
Start small. Doesn't have to be crazy.
Yeah, I'm already thinking like putting together like 2 or 3 modules or something like that, and you pick kind of like your theme beforehand. You know, like we kind of want this vibe or this background, and then kind of go off that.
It'd be cool too, on the idea of doing 3 is just like maybe 2 of the kid one and maybe 1 adult, just to kind of get the vibe of like what both would be like. I was just thinking like your sister and her 2 boys could bring some friends over, and being the starter group wouldn't have to pay much, but if anything, but we could just,
you give them half off or something. You know, you got to cover your food costs,
right? Just to cover the food, and it doesn't have to be a big deal, but just let's test it out with a group like that, right? And see how it's like. You know, it's a low pressure situation, as it were. People who already know and love you.
and let's be real, the mom groups, if you do that group well, you have no problem marketing.
There you go, word of mouth.
You know, the magician that's at the party, I mean, that's the type of thing you're doing now. Yes, you have to deal with people, and you have to deal with, you know, the Karens of the world. That's going to be the part you don't like.
I can
but
handle
that's what
them.
Rebekah does. Right.
That's right.
No, seriously, like literally,
I can deal with that.
You did a farmer's market, you understand. Like,
correct. There's no problem.
True.
This bread is toasted 2% more than I want, and you're like, do you want it or not? Like,
absolutely.
$5 for a sourdough.
$5 for a loaf of sourdough, and it was one person. I almost laughed. I was like, they thought it was going to last like store bought, like sliced bread, and I'm like, this is a very enriched dough, very moist. If you do not eat this within 5 days, it will go moldy. There's nothing I can do. You should know that. I shouldn't have to tell you that. But if you think it's going to last like, you know, Nichols white bread,
no preservatives,
you have not understood what a farmer's market is. But yes, I can handle the Karens.
Matt, you up for the challenge to do 3 of these in the next 3 months?
I think it's worth a shot.
The whole point is just to try it.
I think he's going to get working on it this evening at the way it sounds like.
Well, and that's the whole point. Is just try it. You got nothing to lose.
Right.
Yeah.
Worst case, you put some time and effort into it and you're like, nobody wanted it. Okay. Like, which by the way, I don't think is real, but like, you know, what price is it at? You know, what's the package?
That's going to be a good thing.
You got to tune that over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a little bit of light research on, you know, what is especially for like an event, like a birthday, what is the expected budget for a family of this?
Oh, you're not going to like that one. So they spend so much money on these parties nowadays. It is ridiculous.
Is that true? Yeah. You got to wonder. I was just going to use the one example from the Facebook photos where I was just looking at it, just like the desserts that they had were so, and this was for a first birthday party. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is like professional, like insane, beautiful stuff where you're just like, who is this for? Like,
for a 1-year-old?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This was for,
oof.
I know. I'm not going to.
Growing up, like, we'd get like 3 pizzas and some soda, and that's a party. Like, and that was it. Like, go outside and get dirty. Like, you know, now it like got crazy. You went to Chuck E. Cheese and you got like $20 of tokens. Now,
that was like a good time. No, it's gotten off the chain. I know.
You know, so what you need to do is figure out what your time is worth, and do that. I think the adult one will be a little harder to figure out the right combo, but you know, I think you're right. Like 6-ish people, and we split it $50 a head, $300. That's pretty reasonable. You know.
Yeah.
And by
especially
the way,
to try something. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, if you do it well, they might give you a tip. You know, like.
Yeah.
Be super fun. It'd be fun to try it out just to see how it goes, and you know, being able to be prepared for and flexible, where it's just like, because like it's challenging to DM even your close friends when they're like, well, you guys are just going to start talking and having a completely separate, there's going to be some of that like corralling that's needed where,
Yeah.
there's just some, I guess, emotional and or frustration things that are inevitable in that situation that would need to be talked through and understood. But that's, we can coach each other through that.
So hold on. I'm going to be technical on this.
Yeah.
They're paying you to come there and hold a party. If all they do is roll the dice once in that night and they're happy with it.
I mean, yeah, you're right.
Yes, you're not progressing through the campaign, but
You had fun not progressing.
Right. As long as they had it. Yeah. As long as they're doing their thing. Right. Yeah.
I've been in those games where people like spend half an hour to decide to open the door or not. If they're enjoying that,
exactly.
I get to say
that's not a failure.
No.
Yeah, that's not.
I'll randomly roll dice just to mess with your head, but like,
make them do another perception check.
Yeah, like wait, what's going on? Wait, what? Like,
Mm-hmm.
You roll the dice and go, ooh.
Or you just let the enemies come to them. They just
ooh, yeah. Oh no, you'll see.
Spend so much time rattling the latch. They have come around the gate and are behind you.
But that's the whole point. Is you don't really have to put on too much of a show.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're
they
right.
have to enjoy it, and if they enjoy BSing all night, that's it.
That's it. I love it.
Rebekah, you asked the question like, well, it's a big picture, and you kind of started off kind of like with the, I don't know, I'm going to call it a little bit of a negative, kind of like, well, what if I don't know what I'm doing? Like, by the time we're done, you're like, oh, this is a cool idea. Let's try it. And what I want you two to be thinking about is like, for the next 3 years, 5 years, I want to try this. I have a lot of people wanting to open cupcake shops. I don't know why, but like cupcake shops really don't make a lot of money, or they make a lot of money, like nowhere in between. Like,
right.
This is a way you can come somewhere in the middle. Yeah, you got to figure out what the rules are for making food at home, but you've already done the farmers market, so you already understand.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I was already thinking that too.
Food safe.
Well, there's going to be a little bit of research there.
Cottage industry kind of way of doing it, or something, whatever.
Yep.
Cottage core.
Out of the home catering is what I would look into, just from the home bakers even. But yeah, it's something that I could easily really firm up my understanding of, but I wouldn't do it without that research. So.
Right.
Yep. And so we set a goal. We're going to try this 3 times. By the way, if 6 book, great, but like we're going to at least do 3. And by the way, the reason why I pick like a random number is to give it a shot. Like you do 1 and it sucks, you haven't given it a shot. Like,
right.
You just got the wrong group
Gotta
the first time, didn't get the right feel. We forgot to bring the toppings for this, whatever. Like,
Yeah. I completely agree. You got to give it more than once or even twice to really understand, is this something I am going to hate or love, or was it the situation or the people or the setting, or didn't sleep it out well the night before? And yeah, there's a whole lot of factors. So
Yeah.
Now, Rebekah, your challenge is going to be not to get it perfect.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
This is just an experiment.
Mm-hmm. Loosey goosey.
The goose is loose.
I don't think that's possible for you, but like,
I take that, what you said, acting upon it in reality is going to take some self-control, but I agree. I will make it, I can stress you out just as easy as I can take stress off you. I can add to it by just my attitude or my,
or you being stressed out
just,
while you're making food.
Just me being stressed out, which is why like for first timers, like first time attempts, super basic. Yeah. It's probably it's going to be like donuts, and or if you want hors d'oeuvres, it's going to be like chicken fingers. Like I'm not going crazy. Like
also we stick to the donuts.
I agree. We got to get our brand right. So let's go donuts.
Then again, there's a lot of adults that would just have donuts at night too, because
like breakfast for dinner. That's the thing. Yeah.
What's happening is a lot of businesses start with a cool idea like this, and then they overthink it, and they never launch. No, just go do it. Go hold some parties.
We've already practiced this for years, really.
Yeah.
In a sense, it would be just scaling it and or customizing it for your audience, which I think, again, you've already done it for your nephews to know this was only going to be an hour or 2 hour campaign, because they're at the time they were 11 and 13. They were like attention spans are like that. It's like you can only expect them to stay engaged for so long.
Oh, they had a great time though.
Oh yeah, they still talk about it. Yeah.
All right. Next time we'll pick up We got to, I'm going to see how this idea went. I want to finish off the estate planning. I want to finish off what ifs, all that. But what I want to see also is, does it keep you fired up? I think a month from now, what's going to probably happen, I'm just guessing, you're going to have this idea. Then we're going to go to Origins. You're like, ooh, there's an idea there. I could do this. Maybe I could do board games. I don't have to do D&D. And it will catch fire. Or a month from now, you're like, yeah, no. And we'll see. And it's not, it's what happens is everybody wants to get it right the first time. No, there's no way. Just try things.
Right.
And see what you
and take
like.
your time with it. Right. Yeah. Set a goal. If you don't get 3 in 3 months, try 2 in 3 months. Don't hold your feet to the fire on something that if it's going to sour you on it, or you don't have the capacity, or life got in the way, don't throw it out. Just, consider what you're able to do and then shoot for that. And I think that's something that we can both keep each other accountable for, because it's just in its infancy, if not yet even formed.
Yep.
You got to think this through.
And once it's taken off, we can talk about the finances and how that's a separate thing. Don't worry about that right this second. If you do the events, you break even, awesome. If you made money, even better.
Right.
Put it in a bank account for the business.
We're not making any evaluations on the financial factors at this point. It's more of do you like it? Was it successful? Did they have fun? Is it something you want to keep investing time and energy in? And then we'll determine if it's financially liquid.
Yeah. And I'm trying to keep out of Rebekah, you said about this idea, and Matt's well, when we started, you're well, I would do the store if we hadn't have debt and we had this, we had that. We started listing no, we don't have to worry about all that right now. The only thing you're wasting is your time, which, let's be real, whether you're having a social gathering, whatever, now you can blame me to your friends that you need to work on this business,
I actually love that as an excuse, because I don't know why we're unable to go, we just want a night at home. We don't want to have our third game night of the month. Even though we do love games, we just want, so it's very hard, because we do love it's not, we don't want to see people, but it's we can't keep doing this. We've got to put a boundary up. So I think this is a fantastic way to start. Even just collaboration on something that we both can kind of get excited about. There's no risk there. So
awesome.
If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a rating or review. We'd love to keep the conversation going. Please let us know your thoughts wherever comments are available, or email us at media@childfreewealth.com. To stay up to date, find and follow Childfree Wealth on social media. If you're interested in working with us, learn more by visiting our website, childfreewealth.com. We'll see you next time.